The desert air in Saudi Arabia carried a tension that felt almost electric. Inside the packed arena, thousands of fans held their breath as two of the most skilled heavyweights of their era prepared to collide once again. On one side stood Britain's powerhouse, Anthony Joshua, a former unified champion determined to reclaim his throne. Across the ring waited the brilliant Ukrainian technician, Oleksandr Usyk, the man who had stunned the boxing world months earlier and now returned to prove that victory was no accident. Their first encounter had rewritten expectations. Many believed Joshua's size, strength, and punching power would overwhelm the smaller former cruiserweight champion. Instead, Usyk had delivered a masterclass of movement, precision, and ring IQ. Now the rematch promised something different: redemption for Joshua, validation for Usyk, and perhaps the next step toward undisputed glory in the heavyweight division. As the opening rounds unfolded, it quickly became clear that Joshua had arrived with a new plan. Gone was the hesitation that had plagued him before. This time, he stepped forward with purpose, his gloves held high, his posture composed, and his focus razor-sharp. He stalked forward, probing with jabs and looking for opportunities to drive his right hand toward Usyk's body. Usyk, however, remained the same elusive puzzle he had always been. Light on his feet, balanced and fluid, he circled the ring with a calm confidence that seemed almost effortless. Every step had purpose. Every feint carried intention. He was not merely reacting to Joshua's attacks. He was orchestrating the rhythm of the fight itself. By the time the fifth round arrived, the intensity had reached another level. The crowd could sense it. These were not cautious exchanges. This was a real fight now. Joshua planted his feet and began firing back with authority, launching heavy right hands and digging vicious shots into the body. The punches landed with a thud that echoed around the arena. Those body shots were no accident. Joshua's new trainer had emphasized the importance of targeting Usyk's midsection. The strategy was clear: slow down the Ukrainian's movement, sap his energy, and gradually take away the legs that made him so difficult to catch. For brief moments, it seemed to be working. Usyk absorbed the blows but couldn't ignore their power. Joshua's punches looked heavy, deliberate, and punishing. Each time the British fighter found the body, the crowd roared with renewed belief. But Usyk was never easy to discourage. Even while under pressure, he continued flicking out sharp jabs and sneaking in his trademark left hand. His accuracy was remarkable. Where Joshua's attacks came in bursts of power, Usyk's strikes landed like precise instruments, quick, snapping punches that kept interrupting Joshua's momentum. Round 6 opened with both fighters still locked in a tense tactical battle. Joshua looked incredibly fit, his breathing steady as he marched forward again. There was a small mark forming near his right eye, evidence of Usyk's pinpoint counters, but it did little to shake his composure. Joshua continued pressing the body, driving his fists toward the ribs and midsection. The strategy demanded patience. These weren't knockout punches meant to end the fight instantly. They were investments designed to pay dividends later. Usyk answered with combinations of his own, whipping quick punches from unusual angles. His speed remained a problem. Just when Joshua thought he had the range, Usyk slipped away, gliding across the canvas before snapping another straight left into Joshua's head. Still, this version of Joshua looked different from the one who had lost their first fight. He wasn't confused or hesitant. He stayed disciplined, blocking shots, catching punches on his gloves, and firing back whenever he found an opening. The champion's brilliance was still evident, but Joshua was competing with far greater determination. The 7th round carried a deeper emotional weight. Usyk had become more than just a champion in recent months. Back home in Ukraine, his country faced unimaginable hardship amid war. For a time, Usyk had returned to defend his homeland before eventually resuming his boxing career. That context transformed the fight into something bigger than sport. For many Ukrainians, he represented resilience and national pride. Yet inside the ropes, sentiment meant nothing. Joshua continued pushing forward, landing a sharp right hand that briefly caught Usyk's attention. His pressure remained constant. He was doing exactly what his corner demanded, forcing the champion to work, forcing him to move, forcing him to fight. Even so, Usyk's brilliance continued to shine through. His footwork was mesmerizing. He drifted left, then right, slipping punches and countering with speed that seemed almost unnatural for a heavyweight. It was the kind of movement that frustrated even the most powerful opponents. As the 8th round began, the pace had slowed slightly, but the chess match intensified. Sweat poured from both fighters, turning the canvas slick underfoot. Joshua slipped momentarily while stepping forward, a reminder of how treacherous the ring had become. Usyk capitalized on every small opportunity. His straight left hand kept finding its mark, snapping Joshua's head back repeatedly. The Ukrainian's timing was exquisite. He judged distance perfectly, always staying just outside Joshua's most dangerous punches before darting in to score. Joshua refused to abandon his body attack. Again and again, he drove punches into Usyk's torso, hoping to weaken the champion's legs. The effort was admirable, but Usyk's mobility remained intact. He danced away, pivoted off the ropes, and slipped out of danger before Joshua could trap him. By the 9th round, the urgency began creeping into Joshua's approach. Time was slipping away, and although he had enjoyed moments of success, Usyk's precision and movement were still winning many exchanges. Joshua tried to force the issue, charging forward behind a double jab and hammering another right hand into the body. This time, he managed to pin Usyk briefly against the ropes. For a few seconds, the British fighter unleashed a flurry of punches that electrified the crowd. This was the pressure everyone had been waiting to see. Joshua's punches thudded against Usyk's guard and body as he tried to overwhelm the champion. For a moment, Usyk looked uncomfortable, forced to absorb the storm instead of dancing away from it. Joshua even flashed a quick smile through his mouthguard, sensing momentum shifting in his favor. It had been his best round of the fight, exactly the kind of surge he needed to stay alive on the scorecards. But champions respond when it matters most. Round 10 began with Usyk immediately reminding everyone why he held the belts. He stepped forward with renewed urgency, unleashing a rapid combination that caught Joshua clean. The Ukrainian's hands moved like lightning. Suddenly, Joshua found himself absorbing punches again. Usyk was firing with rhythm and confidence, landing crisp shots that kept slipping through Joshua's guard. The champion's offense flowed beautifully. Left hands, hooks, quick counters that arrived before Joshua could react. For a moment, it looked eerily similar to the closing stages of their first fight, when Usyk had nearly stopped Joshua. Yet Joshua refused to fold. Digging deep, he planted his feet and fired a thunderous right hand that landed flush. The punch snapped Usyk's head back and drew a roar from the crowd. It was perhaps Joshua's single best punch of the entire contest. Usyk absorbed it, staggered slightly, and then, incredibly, recovered almost instantly. That resilience had become one of his defining traits. Time and again, he proved that he could withstand heavyweight power and continue executing his game plan. Still, the round largely belonged to the Ukrainian. His combinations kept flowing, his movement remained sharp, and Joshua struggled to match the pace. By round 11, the stakes were painfully clear. Joshua was running out of time. Usyk looked as fresh as ever, gliding across the ring with a fluidity that seemed impossible after nearly 40 minutes of intense combat. His conditioning was extraordinary. Even late in the fight, his footwork remained crisp and energetic. Joshua kept pressing forward, digging more body shots into Usyk's ribs. Some of them landed hard enough to draw visible reactions from the champion. For a brief moment, it looked like Joshua might have hurt him with a well-placed shot. But Usyk quickly regained control, slipping away and responding with sharp combinations of his own. His rhythm never broke. His focus never wavered. The respect between the fighters was clear. At one point, they even shared a brief smile through their mouthguards, a silent acknowledgement of the brutal challenge each man presented to the other. Then came the final round. 12 rounds of championship boxing had led to this moment. Joshua knew he needed something dramatic. A knockout, perhaps, or at least a decisive surge that might sway the judges. He charged forward with renewed desperation, throwing everything he had left. Body shots, right hands, hooks. He tried to overwhelm Usyk with sheer willpower. But Usyk's defense held firm. He slipped under punches, spun away from danger, and returned to the center of the ring whenever Joshua tried to trap him against the ropes. It was a display of defensive mastery. Joshua kept trying, refusing to surrender even as the clock ticked down. Every punch carried the weight of his hopes to reclaim the heavyweight crown. Yet Usyk remained composed, countering with sharp left hands and calmly neutralizing Joshua's final assaults. When the bell finally rang, both men looked exhausted yet proud. They had given everything inside that ring. The judges' scorecards were read moments later. The tension in the arena was palpable. Then the announcement came. By split decision, the winner, and still the unified heavyweight champion of the world, Oleksandr Usyk. Emotion flooded the champion's face as tears formed in his eyes. For Usyk, the victory represented more than just another title defense. It was proof that his brilliance belonged at the very top of boxing's most prestigious division. Joshua, meanwhile, had delivered a far stronger performance than their first meeting. He had shown heart, determination, and a willingness to adapt. But on this night, the extraordinary skill of Usyk proved too much once again. The Ukrainian left the ring with his belts still around his waist, and his legacy growing with every fight. And as the crowd slowly emptied from the arena, one question remained in the minds of boxing fans everywhere. Where does the heavyweight division go from here? Will Usyk continue his reign and chase undisputed greatness? Can Joshua rebuild and fight his way back to another title shot? And which heavyweight challenger might step forward to test the champion next? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Did the judges get it right? Could Joshua have done more to change the outcome? And who should face Usyk next in the heavyweight division? If you enjoyed this breakdown and want more dramatic boxing stories like this one, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next fight story.